If these 7 alchemical teachings have found their way to you, understand this. It is no accident. Messages like this appear only when the soul is ready to awaken. Ready to ignite the cosmic power that has long been dormant within. Long before religions rose, before doctrines were written, even before the soul had a name. There was Hermes, known to the Egyptians as Thoth, and to the Greeks as Hermes Trismegistus. He was the bridge between what can be seen and what remains hidden. A messenger from the stars who left behind a single sacred tablet. A map revealing how consciousness itself could be transmuted into power. But heed this carefully. What Hermes left was not theory or philosophy. It was a living, breathing spiritual practice, a guide to inner transmutation. These teachings were protected across millennia, hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who were ready to hear them not with their ears, but with their entire being. The Emerald Tablet speaks not in the loud voice of reason, but in the silent whisper of remembrance, revealing itself only to those who have begun to listen beyond the senses. If you are hearing these words now, it is because something deep within you has already begun to stir. The tablet is not merely an ancient artifact lost to time, it is a living frequency, a current of wisdom that touches the hidden memory of the soul. And when you attune yourself to it, it feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something ancient. Something you always knew but had forgotten through the veil of incarnation. Forgetting is part of the journey. Being born into this world requires passing through amnesia. Forgetting who you are, where you came from, and why you chose to be here. But the soul never truly forgets. It simply waits for the moment when the memory is ready to surface. When that moment comes, life itself begins to shift. You start to question everything. You feel a restlessness you cannot ignore. A whisper that says there is more than routines, more than appearances, more than the heavy masks the world has placed upon you. That unease, that persistent yearning, is not a mistake. It is the first sign that the soul is waking up. The Emerald Tablet presents itself only to those prepared to see beyond the surface, those willing to unlearn inherited beliefs and hear the silent truth waiting beneath. It acts like a sacred mirror, not one that reflects your face, but one that reflects your dormant potential, your true nature, your waiting power. And if it has come to you now, it is because the time has come to see yourself as you truly are. This is not luck. This is not random. If you feel a quiet warmth in your chest or a subtle tremble moving through your body, pay attention. That is the soul's memory awakening. That is how it begins, with a vibration, with a stirring, with a presence that was always with you, now beginning to rise. These 7 teachings are not lessons in the conventional sense. They are not new knowledge to be acquired. They are ancient truths your soul already knows, waiting for you to remember. You are not learning, you are reconnecting with what has always been yours. Teaching 1. The body is cosmic technology. What you call your body is, in truth, a masterpiece of living creation, a highly sophisticated technology crafted from atoms and stardust, designed to allow consciousness to move, to express itself, and to experience the material world. But never forget, the body is not you. It is the garment your soul wears temporarily, a sacred yet fleeting vessel that, like all garments, will one day be left behind. This was among the first and most essential truths revealed in the Hermetic schools. The ancient alchemists revered the body as a divine container, but they never confused the vessel with its precious contents. Within this container exists the true fire, the eternal spark, the divine essence that is neither born nor destroyed the soul for centuries. Spiritual masters have warned that humanity's greatest error would be identifying with the form, mistaking the external for the eternal, clinging to the body, the profession, the titles, the roles, all of which are fleeting illusions. True alchemy begins precisely at the moment you dare to ask, "Who am I beyond the image I see in the mirror?" The body was made to serve consciousness, not to rule over it. It is a temple. But a temple has no meaning without the presence it was built to host. Without an awakened soul, the body becomes nothing more than inert matter, a hollow shell that imitates freedom while locking perception behind invisible bars. The ancient alchemists understood this profoundly. That is why they spoke of the hidden fire, the vital force, the cosmic energy that animates every cell, every breath, every heartbeat. When this fire is conscious, the body becomes a luminous channel, vibrating in harmony with subtler realms of existence. But when ignored, this fire dims, and both body and consciousness fall into deep sleep. The emerald tablet does not speak to the flesh. It speaks directly to the spirit behind the eyes, to the silent observer who watches everything unfold. If you have begun to sense there is something beyond the skin, beyond the chatter of thoughts, beyond the mechanical reactions of habit, then know this: your inner fire has already begun to burn brighter. Teaching 2. The structure of time is cyclical and alchemical. When this deeper awareness ignites within you, everything transforms, including your understanding of time itself. Consciousness, once awakened to its eternal nature, can no longer accept the primitive notion that time is a straight line from birth to death. That view belongs to those still trapped in the gravity of matter and calendars. Hermes revealed a greater truth. Time does not move, you do. Time is not a river you are carried by. It is a living vibrational field, a spiraling architecture where all experiences coexist across different frequencies. The past, the future, and the present are not separated by walls but by states of vibration. And when consciousness rises, it can move freely through these layers, like walking through different rooms within the same vast house. The alchemists knew this and lived it. Through specific sacred practices, they navigated the currents of time, recovering memories of lifetimes past, healing wounds rooted in ancient cycles, and glimpsing future lessons yet to unfold. It was not magic nor superstition. It was the science of the soul, a spiritual technology mastered only by those who stepped beyond the illusion of linear time. To grasp time as a spiral rather than a straight line is to unlock the true art of transmutation. When you awaken to the reality that life unfolds through cycles, you begin to discern the subtle patterns woven through your existence, patterns that may have been repeating not just for decades, but across centuries, even millennia. You find yourself drawing in the same forces, the same echoes of experience. Gradually, you come to recognize the familiar contours of recurring situations, the persistent challenges, the enduring blockages, and you realize that none of it is by chance. Every repetition is a call to deeper awareness, a summons to break the old rhythm and consciously shape a new path. Time is not your enemy. It is a living mirror that faithfully returns the same image again and again until you finally look at it with new eyes. And when that seeing happens, the cycle dissolves, the lesson is integrated, and a new spiral begins, higher, freer, more conscious. This is the alchemy of time. Not about controlling the days, hours, or events, but about becoming lucid within the spiral, remembering that you are not trapped on a straight line, but moving within a living spiral where at any moment you can choose to rise to a new octave of existence. Teaching 3. Emotional chaos precedes physical illness. As you rise within the spiral, you begin to realize that what truly holds you back is not the events themselves, but the unprocessed emotions lodged within them, the anger repressed, the fear buried, the guilt carried like an invisible burden for years. All of this forms what the ancients called vibrational density, and it is this density that gradually shapes the body from within. Hermes spoke about this with crystalline clarity. Emotions are not just fleeting reactions, they are creative forces with form, weight, and vibration. They interact with the body as fire interacts with metal, forging, bending, or burning depending on how they are channeled. When emotions are left unresolved, they create distortions that accumulate over time, and what modern medicine labels as physical symptoms are often the final echo of a disharmony that began long before, deep within the subtle regions of the soul. True alchemists understood this, which is why, before any external transmutation, they embarked first upon internal purification. Silence, fasting, isolation, meditation, not to escape the world but to clear the inner ground, to remove the distortions that would otherwise taint the great work. In the sacred laboratory of the human being, the densest material to be transmuted is not lead, it is unresolved emotion. Every unintegrated feeling acts like frozen vibrational information. Even traumas consciously forgotten continue to vibrate, creating patterns of reaction and defense that imprison rather than protect. When vital energy stagnates, illness inevitably draws near. Modern medicine is only now beginning to glimpse what Hermes taught millennia ago, calling it psychosomatic. But the alchemists knew, by observing emotions without judgment, by breathing into anger, by embracing fear rather than fleeing from it, you break the cycle of unconscious repetition. What once poisoned you becomes the very medicine that heals you. What once imprisoned you becomes the key that frees you. True healing begins when emotion is recognized as pure energy, and when that energy is allowed to flow again, the body regenerates, the mind quiets, and outer reality shifts not by magic, but because your field is no longer broadcasting the old signal. You cease repeating, you begin creating anew. Teaching 4. The word as a cosmic code. As the currents of energy are restored to their natural flow, an even deeper sensitivity emerges. You become attuned to the invisible frequencies that weave the very fabric of existence. You begin to see that the universe is not composed of inert matter, but of living vibration. And within this vast vibrational field, it is sound that holds dominion. Hermes, the great revealer of hidden knowledge, grasped a sacred truth about sound. It was not merely a phenomenon of the senses, but the fundamental key to creation itself. He taught that the genesis of the cosmos did not arise from the formation of physical substance, but from the word understood not as a religious allegory, but as a pure vibrational principle through which all realities are called into being. Everything that exists emerged from a primordial sound, a primal frequency that wove chaos into order and gave invisible essence a tangible form. Human beings, crafted in the image of the cosmos, carry within them the same latent power, the ability to shape reality through their voice. The ancients knew this, which is why they chanted mantras, psalms, and sacred songs, not out of mere tradition or superstition, but with the profound understanding that the right tone, expressed with pure intention, reorganizes the vibrational field around it. The human voice, when aligned with heart and spirit, holds the power to open hidden portals, to dissolve unseen blockages, to mold the subtle substance of existence. Every word you speak carries a frequency, and that frequency has consequence. Words spoken in anger poison the field. Words spoken in truth heal. Words spoken in love expand and uplift. The word is a constant act of creation, shaping the terrain of your life moment by moment. Yet few realize how profoundly their repeated words carve their reality. The alchemists understood this sacred responsibility, training first in silence before they ever dared to speak, because they knew that words spent carelessly were wasted creative power. A single word, spoken from the true center of one's being, could move structures that years of effort could not. The Emerald Tablet invites us to sing the song of freedom not with literal melodies, but by vibrating a frequency so pure and coherent that it resonates through the unseen architecture of the universe, reshaping everything it touches. It is not necessary to understand how this happens. It is enough to emit it with purity. The vibration will find its way. Teaching 5. The curvature of space frees consciousness. As you understand that sound shapes reality, you begin to realize another profound truth. Space itself bends and responds to consciousness. Matter is not fixed and inert as it appears. Everything moves, pulses, vibrates in silent accord with living awareness. Hermes spoke of this long before modern physics caught up. He taught that moving through straight lines and rigid angles creates limitation, while moving through curves generates freedom. To him, space was not a void, it was a living organism, sensitive to the spirit that flows within it. When you force your way forward on straight, linear paths, you are operating from the conditioned mind, the part of you desperate for control, predictability, and logic. But the spirit does not move in straight line. It dances in spirals. It flows through curves. It expresses itself in organic, living patterns that honor the rhythm of the invisible. The ancient alchemists knew this deeply. They built temples crowned with domes and arches. They painted circular mandalas. They used curved mirrors to catch reflections unseen by ordinary sight. They knew that the curve reveals what the straight line hides. To move through curves is to trust intuition over rigid certainty, to surrender to the spiral journey of the soul rather than the mechanical ticking of the clock. In the curve, you learn that every expansion is followed by retreat. Every journey includes loops, pauses, and detours. And it is in this spiraling, sacred dance that consciousness grows without rupture and without force. Look to nature, the orbit of planets, the growth of plants, the swirl of water, the unfurling of galaxies. None of it moves in a straight line. The straight line is an artificial construct of the separated mind. True life, true alchemy, happens in the living, breathing curves of the cosmos. When you begin to move in harmony with this principle, everything changes. Anxiety fades. Inner rigidity softens. The path is no longer a race to an imagined finish line. It becomes a living journey. You no longer obsess over the destination because you trust the intelligence of the movement itself. And in that surrender, your consciousness is finally set free. Teaching 6. The earth is a living being and you are part of it. As you glide more effortlessly through the curves of existence, something even deeper begins to awaken within you. The illusion of separation. That old belief that you are an isolated fragment in a vast, indifferent world begins to dissolve. You start to feel, not think, but feel that you are part of something far greater. The earth ceases to be a backdrop for your life. She reveals herself as a living being, pulsing with the same cosmic energy that pulses within your veins. Hermes taught this truth long ago, declaring that the earth is not a dead rock adrift in emptiness, but a conscious, breathing entity, constantly responding and transforming just as you are. Every thought, every emotion, every choice made with true presence subtly affects her vibrational field in this light. Alchemy was never a solitary endeavor. It was always a dialogue between the human being and the earth. A co-creation of fields. The alchemists called this planetary alchemy, understanding that by refining themselves, they refined the earth, for all is interconnected. Just as healthy cells restore a body, awakened humans help heal the planetary field. Their meditations, mantras, and rituals were not mere personal exercises. They sent ripples through the Earth's own energy centers. And the opposite holds true as well. When the rivers are poisoned, we feel it in our bones. When the forests fall, something ancient fractures in our spirit. Even those who cannot name it feel the emptiness, the unease, the aching disconnection because we are not separate. We are her. Reconnection requires no belief system, only presence. Walk barefoot, touch a tree with gratitude, bless the water that sustains you, fall silent and listen to the rhythms rising from the ground beneath your feet. The earth speaks, but her voice is vibrational, and those who have learned to listen with their bodies understand her completely. Every small act of reconnection reawakens something sacred. And as you realign with her, she realigns with you. Teaching 7, the flower of life pattern connects everything. When that deep listening becomes second nature, perception widens even more. You begin to sense that behind every living form, every leaf, every cell, every particle, there is a secret architecture sustaining creation. Hermes called this the flower of life, a sacred geometric pattern as ancient as existence itself, repeating infinitely across every scale. The flower of life is not simply a beautiful symbol carved into ancient temples. It is the energetic blueprint of life itself, the primordial code. Each circle interlocks flawlessly with the next, forming a field of perfect harmony and connection. And from this lattice, matter emerges. The ancients knew that where sacred geometry pulses, vibrational order reigns, and where order exists, life thrives. The alchemists did not study these patterns with the cold eyes of mathematicians. They beheld them with the vision of spirit. They meditated upon the flower of life as one contemplates the face of the invisible. For they understood. This pattern does not just illustrate life, it is life. They understood how spirit manifests into matter, how the invisible becomes visible, how sound takes on form, and by aligning their consciousness with this design, something within them would reorganize itself. This was how they reprogrammed reality, not by imposing their will on the external world, but by fine-tuning their inner vibration until it resonated perfectly with the pattern of creation itself. The flower of life was their compass, their sacred point of return. Whenever chaos clouded their path, they didn't struggle against it. They returned to the pattern. They gazed upon it. They breathed it in. They allowed themselves to feel its silent order. And little by little, the storm outside would surrender to harmony within. This pattern is not something external to you. It exists inside you in the architecture of your cells, in the geometry of your energy field, in the very rhythm of your heartbeat. If you grow quiet enough, if you listen beyond the noise of the mind, you will begin to notice that all of life follows an intelligence far deeper than randomness. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is truly separate. Everything fits together with exquisite precision, as if the entire universe is dancing to a song that only the soul can hear. And once you begin to feel that silent song stirring within you, something irrevocable occurs. You cannot return to how you were before. What has been seen cannot be unseen. What has been remembered cannot be forgotten. Consciousness that has crossed through the veils cannot simply slip back into sleep. It returns awakened, and that is when the true journey begins. You are no longer here as a curious observer. If you were, you would have already turned away. But you stayed. You crossed 7 layers of knowledge transmitted by a consciousness that speaks across all time. And now, having touched this frequency, something inside you must respond not with more information, not with mere contemplation, but with presence, with practice, with vibrational action. The calling is not to understand. The calling is to become. Alchemy is not a theory. It is a path, and you are now walking it. Perhaps you have always felt it, that gnawing sense that the visible world could never explain all there is, that something ancient and luminous was waiting for you to remember. The Emerald Tablet did not come to bring you something foreign. It came to confirm what your soul has always known. And now that the inner fire has been reignited, it must be fed. You are the new alchemist not because you have mastered formulas or symbols, but because you have dared to look within, to transmute fear into clarity, density into light, mind into silence. You were called because you carry the spark, and now that it has been lit, it will not only transform your own reality, but ripple outward and awaken the world around you. The tablet still lives, not locked away in a museum, not etched in ancient stone, but alive in every conscious breath you take, in every word you speak with truth, in every gesture of reconnection with the whole. It pulses within you, and every time you remember that, a new spiral begins. And before you go, remember, in the first pinned comment, you'll find an essential book for deepening this journey, the Kybalion, a classic that unveils the hidden principles behind the Emerald Tablet. And if this message resonated with you and you wish to support this channel, you'll also find a link for contributions. Your presence here already changes everything. But if you choose to support, know that it will be deeply, gratefully received. Now, click on the video appearing on your screen. I'll meet you there, and together, we'll continue what your soul has already begun.